Are we on?
I don't know.
You didn't drink a cigar.
No.
Brought liquor. Good man. Here, I'll even cut your cigar for you.
I'll wait until later.
Huh?
I'll wait until later.
Will you?
Who's?
Here, well, we'll put this right here.
Here's a drink.
Thank you. That right there. Right here?
Yeah.
We're getting situated. I don't know. Am I?
You are on.
All right. Oh, shit. I forgot to cut my own cigar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to
I'll get it for you.
Thank you. I like a V cut, please.
Here. Here you go.
Oh, I got to do it.
We're like an old married couple. Excuse us.
That is
Joe
awesome.
Ridgely. Joe Ridgely, how's it going, my friend?
It is an excellent evening planned ahead. How are you gentlemen doing?
Good.
Doing really well.
Ron swears he has this dialed in
Yeah.
to where we're gonna get folks in, fill them with horror and dread, and get them out within, I don't know,
2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours.
All right, better than 3.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Is he new here?
Yeah. He's continually optimistic, though.
We'll see what we can do. We can see
So-
what we can do on that.
Gentlemen, what are we drinking this evening?
We are drinking Heaven's Door Tennessee bourbon.
Nice.
Oh, it's good.
It's kind of tasty, huh?
Uh-huh. I like that. I've never had it before.
Me either.
All right. Trying new things.
Dan appears to be sparking up. What are we smoking this evening, sir?
It is a big ass Mark Twain Maduro Gordo.
Is it
My
good?
new favorite cigar.
Nice. Well, I noticed something, Dan. You look about 10 pounds lighter in the hair area.
Yes. Yes.
Care to,
Spring has sprung, man.
spring has sprung. Right
Yeah.
on.
He's barely recognizable.
You know, this will last until August, so get ready.
Nice. So we all saw a little video that you did. Care to comment on that?
What video?
The hair video.
Oh yeah, no. I like to document my journey, you know, as I develop. It was, you know how it is. These northeastern winters, you know, you get a little crazy.
Absolutely. And Ron, what do you have going on with that shirt? What's on that shirt?
Well,
What is on that shirt?
it is Count Orlok's Nightmare Gallery.
Oh, cool.
It's located in Salem, Massachusetts. Plug,
Nice.
plug. And my friend James owns it, and it's almost like a wax museum, but I don't think it's wax. But they have like most of the great characters from horror movies from the early 1930s or whatever, Universal Monsters and up. I'm still trying to talk him into getting a Leatherface. We don't have a Leatherface there yet, but he said he wants one. But yeah, it's right on Essex Street in downtown Salem.
I know the people you should
Fantastic.
talk to.
All right.
Oh, give me 1 second. All right. And I am going to bring your special guest host on. Give me 1 second to pull him up.
All righty. Man, this is smooth.
And here we go. And there he is. Danny. You guys.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you? You got me coming clear?
There he is.
Okay, they can hear him. For those of you who don't know, which you really should know, Danny has a show, the Cult Classic Horror Show, very popular. You tell him, Danny. What
All
else?
right.
You've got your hands in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you got me loud and clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I have the Cult Classic Horror Show where we, talk about, review classic horror movies, interview actors, directors, all the things. So yeah, we horror content brand. We have blogs too. We're also just finished our first feature film, a horror film that now we're just figuring out what the hell to do with it. So looking for distribution and if nothing else, it'll end up on Amazon Prime and we'll push the hell out of it. But yeah, just a horror junkie like yourselves and, wanting to bring more horror to the world.
And thanks for joining us, Danny. It's good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is going to be awesome. I got a drink in hand as well.
There you
Good
go.
deal. Good deal. What are you drinking?
This is a tequila cocktail with some Izzy because I ran out of rum for my rum and coke. So So yeah, it's a little bit more girly than I like to admit.
Joe likes girly
Hey,
drinks.
we don't judge.
Okay.
What are you drinking?
I got the usual Jim Beam and cherry Coke, but
Ooh.
I also have backup beer and drinks laying all the way around because I know how these guys get. And
Just in case we go 4 hours tonight instead of right?
I like how your drink is hidden in a mug, in a travel mug.
oh no, it's on ice.
I thought the other one was in a mug, a travel mug.
Oh, this one, yeah, that's what I refer to as my adult sippy cup. In case
Okay.
But
That's awesome.
gentlemen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bow out. I'm going to start looking at questions from the audience and bring them up, and you guys have at it.
All right, thanks,
Awesome.
Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
I'd love to ask you guys some questions if possible before we jump into things and get David on the line here.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
Yeah. First of all, awesome to talk to you, Dan. I know this isn't you, but I got my original Leatherface in the background here.
Everybody's family. Yeah.
Technically, the same character, so it's
Of
good.
course. Now, obviously, you guys. I mean, I talk about doing a horror film, but you guys are in the horror film biz and have been working on a few things. I know you've been working on a novel, Ron, that was after a screenplay that will probably be made as a film. But I know you guys are just finishing up Volition, and tell me again, that's a short film, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think we actually locked picture. The editor.
Oh.
The editor is skeptical. She doesn't believe me when I say I'm done. But I'm done. It's time to color it and put some sound to it. But I'm very happy with what we have thus far.
What can you give us a little bit of? I did read about it a little bit, but I'm sure some of the people watching haven't. Can you give us now? Don't give anything away, but can you give us a little bit on the story, like what this thing is about?
Well, it started out its life as a concept. We were talking about kind of reviving a Twilight Zone-esque type TV series, doing a weekly TV show, and do half-hour dramas, with no through characters, just like the Twilight Zone, and kind of the slug line is ghost stories from the point of view of the ghost, and anyway, as things happen in the business, I got to talking to some people, and we were kicking around ideas of things we could do. And I had long ago given up on making this TV show, but I still love that script. I love that story. And a friend of mine said, "Let's make it a short movie." I said, "Oh, great, let's do that." And that was about, I don't know, a little over a year ago, but we're close to finishing.
Okay, no, that's amazing, and obviously you're close to finishing. What are the release plans? You have that coming out before the end of the year, you think?
Oh yeah. Well, I think we may do a premiere right here at Bad Anger Pictures World Headquarters.
Yeah.
We're in an old neo-Gothic church.
That's awesome.
And we've got a big space, so I figured, hell, and we have a projector.
It's close to where we made it too. It's only about an hour and a half.
Yeah. We shot it down in Scranton and surrounding area.
Okay. Was this
with the folks at the Circle Drive-In down in Scranton?
Okay.
Let us use their woods to shoot part of it. And I promised them we would do a screening there. So we're definitely going to do a screening there at some point. Maybe piggyback it on top of something else, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D, or who the hell knows. But anyway, I'm hoping,
was this
this summer if things go well.
Okay. Was this very much like a a friends and family type production, or did you have to do a lot of hiring out, or do you already know and have relationships with most of the people who help you put the film together?
Yeah, it came about because of this network of friends we have down there in Scranton. They're really just dying to make movies there, and I've been trying to help them crack that code on movie production, and we had called in, everybody called in every favor they could, and it was done on a shoestring, but it was good. It is good. I'm very pleased.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Obviously, you've been part of films, most notably Texas Chainsaw 3D, Dan. But for either of you, I mean, you too, Ron. Is this the first sort of film project that you have helmed or called the shots on?
Yeah, it was my first one, and after we made it, there was a couple of issues here and there on set, and I didn't know what a C-47 was and things like that. So he told me afterwards, he said, "Bro, your problem is you started at the top," right? It's like, because I hadn't been on set and running around and doing all the stuff that we need to do on set so that I would know all the lingo.
Yeah, you learned that as a PA.
So, yeah. But yeah, no, it was a great experience. It really was. The folks in Scranton were great to us, and we had a really good crew. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that, did it take a while? What was that principal photography? Was it, if it's just a few days or?
3 days.
Oh, nice.
3 nights.
3 days and nights. Yeah. It was about 36 hours. Hey, Ryan, it was about 36 hours of nonstop, like sleep 4 or 5 hours, go back. It was pretty intense.
Wow. That's some dedication right there.
Well, we had 3 days really to do this, to carve out this time to do this. We had this set locations for a very short period of time, each one. In the middle of all of it, we lost the set, had to find a new set, had to improvise. One shot didn't get done, which we later did in Gloucester, Massachusetts, but we finally finished the shot. But yeah, it was fly by the seat of your pants, and we had the battle weather. We didn't have a sound stage, so at one point we were out at the circle driving. Yeah, and we were in the woods. We had everything set up, and it started to rain.
We did not have outdoor lights.
So we had some very brave crew members covering up the lights because they were already positioned. We'd worked for a while to position all these lights and get them perfect. You know how that is, Danny.
Yep.
And so the lights were being covered by people. They were getting wet, but the lights were staying dry. And we had 2 canopies that I had picked up a couple of days before we shot. And because we saw the forecast was questionable. So we were out in the middle of the woods we had all the equipment and all the crew under 2 of those big canopies, and just waiting on it and hoping it would stop raining. It finally did. But I think the end result of that is that there's a more crispness to the picture because of all the rain made all the colors pop even more under the lights. So I think it worked to our benefit, but it was a stressful benefit to get.
Sure. Do either of you guys star in it, or are you just behind the camera?
No. Well, Ron makes his first cameo.
Oh, nice.
I'm in it for maybe 10 seconds. I don't know.
Whatever. You're priceless, man. Yeah, I mean, you nailed it.
Whatever Shannon lets me have on screen, that's how long I am. Probably 5 seconds, 10 seconds. But no, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Do you guys do you have a trailer coming up pretty soon here, or what do you think about that?
We have a trailer for it.
You've been saying we need one.
Yeah, I've been talking. I've been trying to think of it, but I don't know. Trailer cutting is an art in and of itself, and I'm not an adept at that.
Yeah. Have you been doing some editing like yourself, Dan, or do you guys are you just overseeing that heavily?
Yes. Well, at the beginning, we're editing in 2 states, so it's largely over the phone. I spent a weekend after we had kind of an assemblage edit, and we refined it pretty significantly. And then our editor moved. Poor thing. She had to,
She is watching right now. So
Oh, hey.
don't say anything too bad.
No,
about
I
her.
wouldn't. But anyway, I think, yeah. And so we've been going back and forth by email and phone conversations, talking, film theory.
Sure.
Yeah, no, once we got the main structure down, she dialed it in, 99%, and then I tweaked a frame or two here and there, but that was about it. And there were a couple of instances where I know the footage and what I thought we got, which of course is an idealized representation, but still, there were a couple of instances where we kind of had a couple of workarounds that were fun. It's all movie stuff.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Gosh, I mean, if you're anything like me, you're ready to just jump on the next one. Do you guys have some projects lined up that you're just waiting to get at?
Yeah. What do you got going, Ron?
I'm writing. You're writing.
I'm writing.
Yeah, Ron, talk a little bit about. I mean, you had the screenplay for Salem Coven, right? But now you're forming it into a novel. Are you? But while you're doing the novel, are you wanting to move forward with the screenplay?
Yeah, I mean, like Dan says, push as many peanuts at a time as you can. So while I'm in line to get funding for filming it, it seems like a good idea. A couple of friends, Steve Gray, who I know is watching, Rhiannon and Nicole, they both published their own work recently. And that kind of inspired me to say, I could do that. And I've got that story. It's just in my head. I live with it all the time. If you're a storyteller or a filmmaker and you've got something in your head, it's really hard to not put it out there, right? So I'm working on it. Started the novel last week. It's going well so far. Thanks for asking. But yeah, that's what I'm working on for me. But collectively, we're always working on 4 scripts, 5 scripts. I mean, there's a lot that we have.
We've got 4 scripts that are completed and in various stages of, budgeting and packaging and whatnot. A couple of them are one of them is done. And, if somebody out there wants to write a check, we can make it tomorrow. But, and the others, we bring them along as we can. In between, I mean, I'm every day I come up with another idea for a movie I want to make. And so it's really hard to stop yourself and focus. And I've got one that I've been focusing on, half-assed, but still, that'll be the next one I complete. And it's always interesting to see, what catches on. You kind of, you just kind of put it out there and see, which one, catches fire first.
Has a lot to do with the market. Has a lot to do with the market. What's going on? What's hot? What's not?
Yeah. Have you? I mean, for some of them, I'm trying to get some funding and running into those snags or having to play the game of well, what do you guys want the movie to be?
We've run into lots of snags. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I mean, we're going just for private equity. But we'll.
Occasionally somebody steps up and they want to read the script and we let them read the script and they have they may not have the purse strings but know people that do, and so we've seen a couple of those instances where people are trying to help us and we we'll talk to you if you're somebody that knows somebody.
When we first started setting out to make something, I was like, I just thought there was an answer out there. It's like, who funds movies? Can I just get the list of numbers? Who funds movies? How how do these movies get made? How do people just want to spend money on movies that they just have all this extra money? And it's true. You just have to dig deep and search wide, and you never know who's going to pop up.
That's right. Your next meeting might be the one that seals it. So.
Yep.
Yeah, and you never know whose path you're crossing too. I was just driving through this little town in the middle of New York, and there were these 4 or 5 kids playing in this front yard, and they all started waving. So I waved back. You wave. It's the country, and I realized they have no idea who they're waving at. And I think they'd be surprised. It's funny when I meet. That's the nice thing about doing movies in masks is nobody knows who the hell you are.
Sure.
Usually, a lot of times we'll walk into a restaurant and we're both very tall guys, right? And people stare at us for that. So usually I get stared at all the time. I'm sure Dan does too when you're by yourself. But when there's 2 of you or 3 of you, it's people stare at you like, what the hell, right? That you get those looks, and to build based on what Dan was just saying, it's like it would even be more interesting if they knew the character he played and what he did, and they don't, and we don't walk around and say anything. It's an interesting concept. It's interesting to be a part of.
Yeah, I think I've only been recognized in public once, and it was from doing press for Texas Chainsaw 3D. Just doing, I did.
Because they put your picture.
No, I did a TV show.
Oh, okay.
And some morning news show, and hey, I saw you on TV this morning, and so TV.
That's pretty. Yeah, it's got to be tough. What you did. You had the mask on, but you don't get to reap some of those rewards of being recognized. That's just part of it, I suppose.
But from what I've seen of those rewards, I'll take the anonymity.
Yeah,
that's true. That part of the business never really interested me.
Yeah. I do want to just a couple questions, because I know that we're about to get David on here, but I know you probably get it all the time, just all these questions about Texas 3D, but I mean, how was that? I mean, you're working on this franchise that's just so epic and so legendary. I mean, just take us through the moment when you first, how did you get cast? How did you audition? And those first feelings when you're like, holy shit, I'm going to play Leatherface.
Yeah, it was a very gradual evolution, because I was friends with the producer of Texas Chainsaw 3D when he bought the rights to the franchise. And he knew I was an actor, but we never talked about it because actors, it was awful. We'd go out to dinner or something, and people would, LA is a small town, at least in the movie business. And people would find out, he's a movie producer, and these actors would just fall all over themselves. And it was you couldn't have a human interaction with these people. And so he and I always just kind of had this unspoken agreement that we would ignore the fact that I was an actor. Because I never bugged him to put me in a movie or anything. And I think he respected that. It certainly preserved our friendship, because, producers and actors really, it's hard to be friends. Anyway, he bought the rights, and he was developing the script, and he also knew I was a writer, and that was cool because he likes writers. And so anyway, he sent me the first draft, and I gave him a bunch of notes, and he really loved the notes. He says, "Man, you really know this." I said, "Yeah." And I told him the story when I saw the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre at a drive-in in Las Vegas in high school. And so anyway, as he developed the script, he brought his buddy John Lessenhop on board to direct, and John had some very definite ideas about who he thought, you know, Leatherface should be. And I forget who it was. I wasn't there when the conversation took place, where they were talking about Leatherface, and somebody mentioned me as being Leatherface should be. Oh, like Dan, but I wasn't there. I don't know what that conversation was. Anyway, Lessenhop wrote an article for the Huffington Post about casting Leatherface, and if anybody's interested, I think it's still on there. They can look it up. But Carl, the producer, he didn't want to shove his friend Dan down the director's throat. You know, that wasn't cool. But he knew there was a possibility. He had actually by that time seen me in a play, and you know, he knew I could act. And so anyway, he invited us both to a Christmas party at his house. And he didn't tell me, oh, the director of Texas Chainsaw is going to be there. You should try and impress him. And he didn't tell John, oh, there's this guy I think would make a great Leatherface. He just put us together. And I was my normal antisocial, I hate parties, kind of self, glowering in the corner and intimidating people just naturally, apparently. And so anyway, it's an interesting read to see his perspective of it, and to realize, you know, it was like he was stalking me. Anyway, we met the following week, talked about Texas Chainsaw, you know, and really connected on what we thought the movie and the character should be, and so it was kind of, oh yeah, this is going to be great. I never auditioned, never, you know.
Wow, that's great.
All right, we do have.
That's why you moved to Hollywood too. By the way.
Yeah.
I see Joe trying to tell us.
Yeah, Joe, go ahead, Joe.
I have a feeling I know what it is. So.
Yes, you're absolutely right. We do have David Howard Thornton waiting to come aboard. So I am, without further ado, I am going to bring him on. 1 second, please. And here we go.
Hey, how you doing?
Give it 1 second. And
I see you.
Introduce you.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Hey, David. How's it going, man?
Man.
Doing well. Good. Wow. Good seeing you again, Dan.
Likewise. How are you, buddy?
Doing good. Just got hot here in New York today, though. I'm starting to sweat in my room right now.
Yeah. We're in upstate New York, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. It was nice yesterday. Today it's like,
Well, hey, David, how's it going? My name's I'm Danny. I'm the co-host, or the guest host, I should say, for the evening.
Nice to meet you, Danny.
Yeah, you as well. Yeah, hey, I'm just gonna do my best to, sort of moderate this banter. I guess we'll have going here. Why not? But yeah, I've already been drilling, Dan and Ron over here about their short film they just made, and Leatherface and all the above. And
oh yeah, I was listening to all that. That was fun.
oh, there you are. But man, I'm glad you could join us. And I got to tell you, man, I just watched Terrifier about 2 weeks ago, and I hadn't seen it yet. Although I have an active horror group, and so it was the buzz.
Yeah, it's been kind of crazy how popular it's gotten. Thank you.
Yeah, and from what I can tell, I mean, you're having a great time. I mean, you've been going to cons and stuff, right?
I've been doing a whole lot of cons. Yeah, I'm about to do a whole 3 in a row this next weekend, starting this next weekend. So that's gonna be crazy.
Okay.
Dan,
Well,
hey, before
what are the rules here on spoilers?
That's a good point.
I watched. I saved it. I saved Terrifier and watched it last night.
I think we have to assume everyone's seen it. Yeah.
Hopefully, everyone that's joined us tonight has seen it, and if not, here's your spoiler alert.
Yeah. First of all, hats off to anybody who can, act in that character, that makeup, that it's really
Oh, thank you.
I love, just let me fanboy a minute. I love the fact that he was a genuine clown, except there were moments when he got angry, and you played that so beautifully.
Thank you.
It was lovely.
Oh, that's something I want to do specifically for the characters, not just make him totally one-dimensional. I wanted to add layers to him. Like, he actually has emotions other than just kill, 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 which you don't really see a lot in a lot of slasher movies.
Yeah. No, I thought you definitely rendered the whole, the whole clown aspect. He's a genuine clown, and I love clowns.
Oh, yeah, me too.
but still, he's terrifying. It was so gory, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
I watched it again this week, getting ready for. I'd seen it before a while back. Actually, I saw it before we were at the con together in Texas last year, David.
Yeah.
And I was watching it again. I'm just like, there were moments where I had to turn my head. I mean, the grittiness of the movie really reminds me of, in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, you don't see very much blood at all, right? But people have a memory of seeing blood.
Yeah.
But the grittiness of Terrifier and the cinematography reminds me a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just because it's just so raw and gritty.
Yeah,
just the sets are scary as hell.
Those weren't even sets; those are real locations.
Yeah.
Well, I believe you. Yeah, they look fantastic.
Yeah, it's like that bathroom was really that disgusting that she went into.
David, the other night I was telling Dan, we were talking a couple nights ago, and I said, David is one of the few people who, when I see Art the Clown and I see you, I cannot, even when you're not in makeup, you make the face and you do this and that, I cannot tell that it's you. The makeup and everything, the teeth, I don't know what kind of appliances you had in your mouth, but good Lord, you could totally blend in public. Like I can kind of see him behind the mask a little bit, but you blend so well behind it. It's an amazing job on all fronts. The cinematography, the acting, and all of it. Really.
Oh, that's most of that goes to Damien. He wrote it, directed it, did all the practical effects himself. It's like the man's talented.
Everybody always asks me about, is it really gross to do that stuff? To bash somebody's head in with a hammer and cut somebody in half with a chainsaw and to peel somebody's face off. What was your experience like?
It didn't gross me out at all. I thought it was kind of cool. But I think that's more because I was seeing how everything was done. So that I was like, oh, this is really cool. It's like I'm a big tech geek type of guy. I'm not like technology, but I used to work tech on shows and stuff. So I've always been fascinated to see how movies work and how stage shows work, how everything, all that works behind the scenes. So I think seeing that part of it, like seeing all the blood tubes and all the different appliances we were using, I think that made it where it didn't seem gross at all to me. It was just kind of.
Spoiler alert: the cutting in half of the lady.
Yeah.
There was one. I think the shot might be a second, but it's right where the saw goes in, and you see it, and there's this jiggle. Anybody who's seen it knows what I mean. There's this fleshy jiggle that is, oh my God, that sent me around the bend, man.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
The other thing, my hat goes off to the writer director, which I can't remember his name.
Damien.
Just said Damien.
Yes.
Was giving him a gun. I love that.
It was shocking.
Yeah, that was so cool. You know.
Yeah. No one expected that.
Honestly, though, I was a little disappointed that because Art is quite the little craftsman. You know, he makes his stuff, which, you know, I like. And that he didn't have a little bang flag that would pop out of his gun.
Yeah. I wish we'd have done that. We just didn't have enough time to rig something, because that's something I actually mentioned on set. It's like, that would be great if we had the bang flag. Like, the bang flag comes out at first, so it's like, ha, and then it fires off. That would be great.
But David, I know Terrifier 2 is already written, obviously.
Yeah.
But that would be such a cool effect in Terrifier 2, because anyone that's seen Terrifier would think, oh shit, that's a real gun, and then bang.
Yeah. Because maybe that's part 3.
I don't know.
I'm sort of curious. I'm sort of curious, David. Like, before we even jump in, just reading your bio and everything, and man, you were like you said, doing tech for theater. You toured with what was it? The Grinch Stole Christmas.
Right.
What is? Do you have mainly like a stage and maybe even musical theater background?
That's correct. Yeah, that's what I was really, pursuing when I first moved here to New York. I was a big musical theater guy. And it just, Terrifier was actually my first film that I actually did, where I played like a real part and stuff, just like an actor in the background or something like that. So it's been a fun transition. Yeah.
Yeah. Has that even while doing musical theater and shooting for that, have you always been a horror fan, or is that something you sort of came into? Yeah.
Well, I was a little bit late to the game because like my mom was extremely terrified of anything horror related. I mean, she thought like the Haunting of Hill House or Fall of the House of Usher. She thought the Fall of the House of Usher, the old Vincent Price version, she thought that was like the scariest movie she had ever seen in her life. And so she would not allow horror films in our house. And it wasn't until like my senior year in high school when Scream 2 came out that my friends dragged me to the film, and I was like, oh my god, this is so much fun. And so like that, my freshman year in college, like my roommate and I would just go and we'd just rent like stacks of like videotapes and just binge watched horror movies all weekend just to catch up with everybody.
Wow. Now, did you, I mean, it's sort of a jump, musical theater to Terrifier. How can you walk us, just walk us through that transition just a little bit? Like, how did that happen?
That was kind of weird because like right before I auditioned for Terrifier, I had taken off like 4 months after touring just to focus on auditioning. And I was up for 4 different Broadway tours, and all of them fell through at the last second. I was in like the final callbacks for all these tours, and it didn't work out. Then I came across the one for Terrifier, and I'm like, oh, I might as well just give this a shot, because I'm like, I'd seen All Hallows Eve, so I loved the character already. I was like, I'm perfect for this role. So I was like, might as well try. And yeah, that's how it worked out for me. So it was like, but yeah, that was definitely a little bit of a change for me, going from like, stage where I'm so used to, having to be very big with my expressions and, physicality, to film. But at least with art, he can still be a little bit big with his physicality, and it works okay for the character.
No, that's amazing. I mean, not to share too much, but I also grew up, my family has a small dinner theater in the town I live in, and I've been doing some film stuff lately, and yeah, it's definitely a big jump, or a different world of acting.
Yes, definitely, because like, especially with, stage work, you get that instant feedback from the audience, and you also have more time to rehearse and develop the characters, and then you have multiple shows where you can still evolve the character while you're doing the shows. But like, when you're doing film, you just go straight in and film the scene a few times, and hopefully one of those is going to be good. And I'm one of these actors, I'm always thinking of new things after I do something. Like when I've done a stage show, I'll be going home and I'm like, oh, let me add this tomorrow night to my performance. But with film, you're like, as soon as that's on, the film, that's what you got. So you're like, so many times I'm like, oh, I wish I'd done that. Oh,
yeah. Well, tell me, someone just commented that we have to watch your audition tape. Like, since there's no lines, what does that audition consist of for Art the Clown?
It was pure improv. They had no script or anything, so I had no idea what I was in for. They just say, hey, just do a scene where you decapitate a guy. That's all they gave me. So I just came up with a scene right off the top of my head where I snuck up behind my victim, knocked him out, sawed off his head, picked it up, tasted the blood, didn't like the taste of the blood, took out a salt shaker and like salted it, and kind of tasted it and liked it. Well, skipped out on my merry way. That's what got me there.
No, that's great. I was sort of curious too, man. I mean, until I looked into it a little further, I didn't know that you hadn't always played Art the Clown, and because you've really owned the character and like you've been at all the events, and whenever I think of Art the Clown, I'm like, oh, David Howard Thornton. How much of the character would you say is your own? Like, did you have some input on Terrifier as opposed to All Hallows Eve, and were you able to like give some suggestions and take it in?
Oh yeah. I mean, I basically, you know, I looked like what the work that Mike Gianelli, who played the original Art, he set a really good foundation for me. I knew where to go with the character. I saw some of the mannerisms he would do, like, you know, his silent laugh and all that kind of stuff, and I just built upon that because one thing I noticed that Mike didn't really do with him, because Mike really, I guess, didn't have the training for this. He didn't add a lot of real clowning elements to it. And that's what I wanted to really add more to. It was more of that, the pantomime, the clowning aspects to the characters. Because he is a clown, so you have to have that in there.
Sure.
And then I just kind of built more on that. I just went more physical with it.
Okay. No, it's real interesting. And maybe you don't know all the details, but was there a reason that they didn't have Mike come back, or they just wanted something fresh?
Yeah, he actually was just I don't even think Mike was wanting to be an actor. He was just one of Damien's friends when he was making the originals. He's like, "Hey, bud, you want to just be in this film?" I was like, "Okay." And I think he hated doing the makeup process, and he's like, "I just can't do this again." So he passed.
Yeah, what was the process like? Like, how many hours were you in the chair?
It started off around like 4 hours. Sometimes more, because Damien would have to leave me to go set up a shot or film a shot and come back. So, I mean, there were some nights where I was in that chair for like 8 hours waiting to go on the set.
Jeez.
But we've gotten down to about 2.5 to 3 hours now.
Yeah. I have to ask too, just as an actor, like, there's no lines. So was that a new challenge for you? Something to
Yeah, that was definitely a new challenge for me. But it's like a challenge I've always wanted to undertake. Because I love like old like silent comedies, like, you know, Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I also really grew up on Mr. Bean, and I'd always wanted to play a character like Mr. Bean, and I kind of look at Art as being like an evil version of Mr. Bean. So, this is a great challenge.
Bean's pretty evil.
Oh, it's just, yeah, you know, you might, you just don't know that, just don't get it on film.
I should ask you the same question, Dan. I mean, shit, you had no lines, and you were sitting there having to not even with your facial expressions, you had to express everything with like movement and grunting. Was that a new challenge for you?
Yeah, you know, it's and that is the challenge, you know.
Yeah.
But once you know that, you know, you want and understand it, you know, then it becomes more, you know, choreographed. You know, that you know, the head tilt has to occur this way at this moment. And, you know, every little movie means something. So it's fun.
Yeah, essentially what I do, I basically just have Art's inner conversation or inner monologue going on in my head the whole entire time. So like, that way I can, like, whatever I'm actually thinking, wanting him to say, I can just act that out as I go along with the saying. It just happens naturally for me.
I got to admit, the whole part where the crazy woman, spoiler alert, was trying to get her daughter back.
Yeah.
I kind of, my mind was racing, and I kind of lost track of what was actually happening there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, there's so much. This movie just bombards you. It's a relentless movie. But that was one thing that after I saw it, oh, wait a minute, what the hell happened there?
Yeah.
And I kind of got lost.
Yeah, that's the part that confuses some people, because some people think that she actually got to Art during that, like, tried to, like maybe she appealed to his, you know, inner humanity. But I look at it this way: it was art. He likes to mess with people, and he has her weakness, and so like that's going to draw her in to him. So it's like it's going to let down her guard, and that's when he goes. You don't see the kill. You don't see her flay her. You only see the aftermath of that. But that's how he got her like that. Yeah, he wanted to just fuck with her head.
Yeah, which was already a mess.
Yeah. He's just a bastard.
Do you have like a now? Is there one already there, or did you create some kind of backstory for Art the Clown? Like, what is his deal?
Oh, I know his backstory. I can't tell you his backstory though.
Damn it!
Is that have anything to do with Terrifier 2, perhaps?
Maybe a little bit. We want to like kind of we don't want to reveal everything at once. I think a little bit of mystery is kind of what's fun about these type of characters. Like, we still don't know Joker's whole backstory after like 75 plus years, and that's how we're kind of approaching art too. It's like it's fun to have a little bit of mystery, but we can like reveal things here or there from time to time, or maybe gives you some clues or something like that. Because I think some of them, I've had fun reading them, but I think some of the fan theories out there, I think people have fun just coming up with their own theories about who he actually is.
Yeah.
He is definitely a magician.
Yeah.
I mean, because he created illusions in that movie, that were, I'm anxious to see the sequel.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's going to be bigger and better.
So, David, where are you guys at with the sequel? Can you tell us anything, or have you shot it? Are you going to shoot it? Do you have what's going on?
I think Damien's going to be making some announcements this week.
Oh, I did see that.
But we have not started filming yet. We've just been in the process of trying to secure funding and stuff like that because we're still an independent film. We don't have a studio backing us so far. So that's all.
We know what that's like.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we all thought that like we assumed like at this point we would have studios like pounding down our door or something like that. But
especially you turn on Netflix and maybe Netflix knows me too well, but every time I turn on Netflix, it's just right there. It's always there. So yeah, you'd think.
Talk a little bit. I do want to see what we can get out of you from Terrifier 2, but you mentioned the Joker, David, and I know you played the Joker in basically a series. Has that? I mean, it seems like Art and the Joker would have similar character types and could almost share some of the same like preparation for the character.
Oh yeah. I definitely put a little bit Joker in Art. That's one of the many characters I had in mind that I just kind of combined in my head for Art. It's definitely Joker. I mean, I just love playing the Joker anyway. He's like my favorite villain of all time. So that's a dream goal of mine, just like to play him. Maybe not necessarily in a movie, but I would really like to play him on a TV series where I would actually have more time to spend on fleshing out the character over a season or two instead of just in 2 hours.
Sure. Do you find now? Obviously, you're playing Art the Clown, and you're sort of the second character or person to play it, but probably the more experienced. With the Joker, when you've been playing that, do you get those kind of comments or get those kind of things where you're like, oh, there's been some greats that have played the Joker, and I've got a lot to live up to?
Oh, definitely. I mean, like my favorite one, who I basically base my interpretation on, is Mark Hamill's. I mean, to me, Mark's version is the comic book version of the character. He totally understood the character as he has been written in the comics, especially from the 80s on. That darker personification of the character. So it's like that's who I primarily base it on. But I like to put a few of the other versions into mine as well. Not Leto though.
Yeah, Leto's not anyone's favorite.
No. Bless his heart. It's just like,
yeah.
You are, David, you are from the South. Bless your heart.
It's a Southern fuck you.
It truly is. Now, are you...
You can say anything about a person as long as you say bless their heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Somewhere in the context of it.
Oh my God. My grandma, she had that lovely Georgian Southern accent. David, give me a glass of water. She talked like that. There's that generation, and she would just insult people without them knowing. Because she just sounds so sweet, and she just said with a sweet smile on her face. You had no idea that she just totally just tore you to pieces.
Right.
It was
That's
beautiful.
great.
She was also an English teacher, so she had a mastery of the English language. So it's like, God.
So she knew what she was doing.
Oh yeah. Oh, she would run circles around people. It was so much fun to watch.
I want to ask you. You said Terrifier 2, bigger and better, but man, I don't know how you can top cutting someone down the middle with not even a chainsaw, a hacksaw.
Yeah. Oh, that's definitely going to be the challenge. That we were like, Damon and I were talking about that. We're like, oh God, how are we going to top that? Jesus, did we set it far too high?
You just need to look at medieval torture, right? Because
Yeah.
that was new. So,
If you need some suggestions, we'll call.
Yeah. Oh, we have one of the scenes, especially in this one, is going to be pretty gruesome. That we think is going to be like that kind of scene in this, and we keep on adding new details to this scene. We're like, oh, that is so demented. That might be taking it too far, but we'll see.
So have you been pretty involved in the writing process then for this number 2?
I have been. Yeah, Damien and I like to bounce ideas off each other, and we play well off of each other that way. It's like he'll come up with an idea, then I'll build on it, then he'll build on that, and we're like, oh, cool. Then he'll just write it all down, and it becomes magic. Like he actually took an idea I had that was like a joke I used to do back when I was a kid, and it was like some sick, demented horror related joke. I don't want to spoil it, but it's like I told him about that about a year ago, and he ended up working into the script. So I'm extremely happy about actually being able to do that too. So,
oh, that's awesome. Yeah, is it like a tight knit group of people? Is everyone who worked on the first one basically working on the second one too?
Pretty much on the production side of it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's interesting. It's always fun that way because then you just feel like you're falling back into it,
Yeah. It's like we got the same DP, same of course director, same main producer, and all that. So the four of us especially, work well together. So.
Yeah. Do you have any concerns? I don't want to say concerns because Art the Clown is already becoming a new horror icon, and it's amazing. I mean, it's awesome. Many people would love to be doing that. Do you have ever any concerns that's oh shit, I'm Art the Clown now? Can I do something else as well?
I have thought about that, but at the same time, I'm just happy to work. To me, this is what I want to do my whole entire life, is make a career out of doing something I love doing. So if that just means I'm playing Art the Clown and that's what I'm known for, so be it. I mean, I can't complain about that. I mean, I would love to do more stuff, but hey, if I get pigeonholed and playing villains or something like that, I'm fine with that. These are fun type of roles anyway, so why would I complain?
That's awesome.
Yeah, they say the second part of typecast is cast.
Yeah, right.
That's what you want.
Yep, exactly.
It's work.
It's work, exactly,
and it's good.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, I actually have a question, if I may, because it's very rare that I have two iconic characters on the same show. So I'm thinking, Dan, if Leatherface, and it's going to be asked to Art and Dan, if Leatherface could talk, what would he say?
Actually, there was a point in the script of Texas Chainsaw 3D that said Leatherface mumbles unintelligibly. And this was during the slaughterhouse beating scene where they had the chain around his neck and were dragging him into the meat grinder. And I thought about what he would say, and said it during the scene as we were shooting it. He was wailing and screaming, and what he said was, as the mayor is beating him with a pipe, he was saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, which is, of course, the words of Jesus on the cross.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
You didn't expect such a heavy answer, did you?
That's pretty deep.
Wow.
I know. We're like, what's going on?
My mind's
I don't know. I've listened to the soundtrack, and you really can't. It is unintelligible. So,
Yeah.
but it's a good Jeopardy question, maybe.
That's a great Jeopardy question.
Right on. All right, David, I'm handing it over to you. Your turn.
Yeah, mine's nowhere near as profound as that.
Sorry.
I don't know. Don't be sorry. I just imagine Art would just, he'd just be a bunch of smart ass comments the whole entire time. Probably just, a lot of foul language.
Written
Never
in
shut up. He'd kind of be like Gilbert Gottfried or something like that. What the fuck is going on here?
Oh man.
Well, you just let me have my horn. Something like that.
I sort of want to.
Hey, still, you dumb bitch.
I think that voice would totally match him.
I think it would.
Yeah.
Oh, that was crazy.
That's the question I had that I was dying to ask, and the answer
I
is
have to tell you. Yeah. Sorry. I think you guys are lagging for
Something
just a
about
minute there. I think I'm good. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, we're good. I was gonna say though, David.
Stupid lagging.
Yeah. I was gonna say though, David, that I am very glad that Art the Clown doesn't have lines. I usually hate clown movies, and I'm not afraid of clowns at all, and clowns don't really do it for me. And so I was like, oh yeah, well, honestly, I sort of put off watching Terrifier. I was like, just whatever, I'll watch it when I get around to it, and then I did, and goddamn, man, it's like I was telling everybody, I'm like, if you don't like clowns, it doesn't even matter because it's such a different take on the quote unquote clown, and it's not this like it clown where he's talking to the kids and hee and all these voices and shit. It's like this guy that is fucking brutal, and like Dan and Ron were already saying, it's such a gritty take on it that and the gore and everything, of course, that it makes it's like the best depiction of a clown I've ever really seen, I think.
Thank you. I personally think if he did talk, it would detract so much away from what he was doing anyway.
Yeah.
I think his silence leads more to the creepiness of the character and scary, just like how vicious he really is.
Yeah.
Especially when he's getting hit and stabbed, and he's screaming in pain, but there's no sound coming out. I love that.
No, that part is like sort of the creepiest.
Yeah, he doesn't even make a sound.
And who was? I think it was Joe or maybe it was Ron. One of you guys was telling me that David has David, you have like this whole theory or knowledge on like just clowns and horror in general. Is that true?
Yeah. I just love clowns anyway. I grew up with clowns. I was like, even I watched like the Bozo Show as a kid every single morning before going to school, and it's just like, yeah.
Yeah. Have they historically scared you as like in horror?
No, not really. Oddly enough, the only clown that ever scared me was back when I was like really little. I had a bunch of those Mego figures, of the Batman figures, those from like the late 70s, early 80s. Yeah. And I had the Joker figure, and he scared the crap out of me. My mom had to hide him up in the closet for a while. That was the only clown that ever scared me, oddly enough.
Yeah. Little did you know.
Yeah, little did I know. It was kind of prophetic in a lot of ways.
Wow.
do we have an Art the Clown action figure yet?
Yes.
Not yet. We're really.
Was it a fan made one? Because I saw one.
Yeah, fans have made one, but we don't have official ones yet. I mean, I heard rumors that maybe Sideshow Collectibles might be interested, but who knows? Yeah. That would be great.
How did Dread Central get involved?
That was through Steve Barton, who was Uncle Creepy. He was with Dread Central at the time, and he had seen a screening of Terrifier. Actually, he hosted a screening of Terrifier out there in California. And he loved it so much. He went to Dread Central. Was like, guys, trust me on this. Pick this up. This needs to be seen by people. See, right before that happened, we were about to go self-distribution because like no one was picking us up. We had like some studios that wanted to pick us up. But they wanted to do massive cuts to the film, especially the hacksaw scene. And we were like, absolutely not. You got to leave what's in here because that's what's going to sell the movie.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought you guys did a beautiful job of walking that line of just how far you can go before it becomes completely gratuitous.
Yeah.
There were moments, it was, deftly edited. Like I say, the little flesh jiggle of the sawing part, oh my God, that was beautiful. Beautiful effect,
Yeah, that's all Damien.
Oh, man.
Actually, I'm reminded of a story that I saw online. Making these movies, when you're actually making it, it's so fake. You see all the people there with the pumps and trying to make the blood spurt, and you watch them put it all together. And okay, you have to be really careful when you do this, But there was a story, a woman in a meat packing plant in Pennsylvania fell into a meat grinder.
Oh, yeah. I heard that one.
And just reading that online, it was so horrifying. And we, I've seen it, 50 times in, on Texas Chainsaw 3D. But man, it's nothing like the actual, there's a strange, there's a strange filter that movies provide that, oh my God, that was more horrifying than anything I'd ever done in a movie.
Oh, same here. I agree.
Yeah, it's, I don't know where I was going with that. I was just.
Well, I think
I do that a lot, David.
No. Well, like with me, I have a little bit of a disconnect anyway with films because I know in my head I know what I am watching is fake, and so I guess that's why it doesn't disturb me as much. The only times it does disturb me is something I might have experienced myself, like a bone breaking or something like that. That's when I'm just kind of.
So you didn't have any Heath Ledger problems making it then?
No,
getting into the character and just staying in the character and going nuts.
Oh no! I've never been that type of actor. I can, as soon as either I hit the stage or they tell me action, I can go right into character and I can drop it as soon as that's just something I don't have to do full method.
And I don't think that full method acting really works in movies.
Didn't work for Heath.
No. And it just doesn't work practically when you're shooting a movie.
Yeah, and you annoy the crap out of everybody around you.
Especially character like Art the Clown. You don't want to live as Art the Clown.
Oh, gosh, no.
David, did they keep you separate from? I know it's probably a small production, but did they keep you separate from the other actors like they did in Texas Chainsaw to a degree?
No. I was
they wanted to surprise. Sorry, so in Texas Chainsaw, they wanted the surprise element. Oh shit, they hadn't seen you as much before, but then, but in yours, you guys were hanging out backstage or off camera and then roll and then boom.
Yeah, we're especially my first night working with Samantha, who plays Victoria in the film. It was the night where I was wearing. It was for my Buffalo Bills scene, so I'm wearing the fake boobs and everything. So I come out and I got the wig on, I got my boobs. I'm like, "Hi, how are you?" I'm David. These are my boobs, and that's how I knew immediately that she was an awesome person because she just started cracking up and she's like, "This is freaking awesome. I love it." And I'm like, "Okay, we're gonna be just fine." And we were just, I think she's got videos of me just making all these jokes about my boobs and everything like that. We had a lot of fun.
That's great.
You rock the boobs, by the way.
Oh, thank you. They were nice boobs. I I have to say that was a very weird thing, looking down and seeing boobs on myself. I'm like, this is wow. I'm turning myself on right now.
Kind of like a Marilyn Manson kind of thing going on there.
Yeah. It was like, good job.
Now,
We're going down the deep corner right now.
right. I've seen
Where's Joe when we need him?
yeah, I've seen some pictures. I mean, Joe has one up right on the screen now with Art the Clown and Captain Spaulding. Is there? I mean, you guys sort of pair up at conventions. Is there anything in the works there?
No, that was just when we were at Mad Monster Party, and Sid was doing his photo op right before mine, but we ended up getting our makeup done at the same exact time in the same room. So that was it was a very surreal moment. So we had our pictures made together after we were done. So.
David, when you travel now to cons and they do the photo op, are you able to do your own makeup? Do you have to have assistants? Like, do you have a kit that you travel with? What do you do?
It's Damien. Damien, if they invite Damien out, he will usually do a photo op where I'm in makeup, because he doesn't want anybody else doing the makeup, because he's very particular about how art is made.
Yeah.
So if anybody's going to do the makeup, it's got to be him. That's just the deal we have worked out with each other. So yeah.
Cool.
I gotta say,
is he going to be at ScareCon in Massachusetts with you?
Yes, he'll be there.
So you're going to do the photo op there?
I believe so. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
what's this all about? CW just commented, DHT, you gotta tell him the sock story.
Oh yes, the sock story. Yeah, it was the day of the Buffalo Bills thing. Yeah, yeah, like because Damien called me up that morning and said, "Hey Dave, when you come to set today, bring a cock sock with you." And I'm like, "Oh, what? Just bring a cock sock with you. Cock sock." I'm like, "No, I don't know what that is. A condom?" It's like, no, just bring a sock with you. I'm like, oh, okay. So I show up and I come out and I put on my sock and I step out and they're like, ta-da! They're like, oh no, because I brought a bright white tube sock. So because I had to cover up, I had that because I had if you notice, I'm not just wearing her boobs, I'm also wearing her vajayjay.
Yeah.
But they had to put the vajayjay over that, but we wanted to hide it, so I just wasn't, hanging out for everybody to see. But then I had that bright white tube sock right there. I was like, oh wow, yeah, we can see that on camera. Yeah, so that took a bit of editing there, so you didn't really see it in the film.
Oh man, that's great.
I didn't know I was supposed to bring a black sock. I was like, oh, you should have told me that, man.
They need to be more specific, Yeah,
because it's not an everyday thing you do. Oh, just okay. Got my whole supply of different cock socks over here in my drawer. So.
What is your you mentioned your mom not liking horror that much. What does she think about you pursuing musical theater? Now all of a sudden you're hacksawing women down the middle.
Well, unfortunately, she passed away back in 2002 while I was in college.
Sorry to hear that.
That was the catalyst for everything I'm doing with my life, because that's when I was still an elementary education major, and that changed my whole perspective on life. I went through a very dark phase, I would say, for about a year or so there. I was very angry, and I had a lot of other stuff happening. Other people died, and I was not happy, and that's when I realized this is what makes me happy, is entertaining people over than teaching people. And that's why I decided to be an actor. So if Mom was still alive, I know she would not see Terrifier. She would, I love you, I'm so freaking proud of you, but I am not going to go see that. But I'm so proud of you. So I know she'd be really thrilled, because she was always my biggest supporter.
Yeah,
she was at every single show I did, always front row, where she was like working the box, like the houses, the head of the ushers and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that's great. Do you think that are you still like actively pursuing musical theater at all? Still, I mean, tours and things like that.
I would love to. It's just like right now, since I'm doing so many conventions, that would take me away from doing all that right now. So. Yeah. Because I hate saying it, but I kind of make more money at these conventions than I would being on Broadway right now. So I'm like, it's that trade-off. But I'm like, I would love to go back and do some. I went to go see King Kong on Broadway last night, and I was just like, God, I miss being on stage. I realized it's been about 5 years since I've been on stage.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. So do you obviously are you a dancer as well?
I could be shown how to dance, but I am not I would not say I'm the Fred Astaire or anything like that. I can do basic musical theater dancing. It's because I usually, when I did musical theater, I usually played like the comic relief or something like that. So I was playing the characters that didn't really have to do a lot of dancing.
Yeah.
I wasn't usually in the chorus having to do all the fancy stuff. So I was like, okay, I just go out for my funny song and do a little jig here or there.
Yeah.
So,
I'm a little curious. I don't know, maybe Ron and Dan are too. And I don't know how much of this you know, but just as a filmmaker, I'm curious. You already told us how Dread Central picked it up. Do you know much about how it went from Dread then popped onto Netflix?
I have no idea. I think maybe Netflix reached out or vice versa, and that's how they made a little deal. I have no idea how much they got for it or anything.
Sure. Have you noticed? Is that where you really noticed, like, the big boom is once it hit Netflix?
Oh, definitely so. I was like, because that was really interesting because I had already been doing conventions before it was released on Netflix last September, and I noticed my convention after it was like, because it released in early September. That's when we were down there in Texas that convention, and I noticed how much more popular the character was at the conventions after it released on Netflix, and it exploded. It just totally exploded, and it's especially because like different celebrities, like I remember like Lily Reinhart, like tweeted about it or like Instagrammed about that she was watching it, and that just like went to millions of people. Chris Jericho's talked about it a lot on his podcasts, and like when that happened, it just exploded, and people have that instant access to it on Netflix. So it keeps on getting more and more viewers to this day. So
yeah,
I'm really grateful for the Netflix picking us up and putting us out there. It did wonders for us.
I'm curious, like, hey Dan, did you ever do the convention thing?
Oh yeah, I do a couple a year maybe now.
Okay. Do you get like dressed up for them and everything, or?
No, I've never done that.
Okay.
The people who own K&B Effects, they own the masks.
Sure.
Yeah.
We have the wardrobe, but
yeah.
I've been asked to do it a few times, and I always said, it's so hard to do.
Yeah.
People think you just put on the clothes, throw on the mask, and you're done. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
It's a process, and Leatherface is dripping with blood in every scene.
Mm-hmm.
He's not fit to be around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's what you're seeing on screen is a blood-caked mess, man. To try to do that in a convention, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess once you've done it with a team of professionals who are there to make you look good, to just dress up in the costume.
I guess that's why Damien insists that he's there to do David's, right?
And he is smart to preserve that.
I agree. And it takes so long to put all that on too at the conventions. We've basically done it where, they basically need to let me do it on like Friday nights, because otherwise I'd be missing like hours and hours at the table, because it takes about 2.5 to 3 hours just to put all that on. Then it's another hour for the photo op, then another hour to take it off. So that's 4 or 5 hours I'm not out there at the tables working.
Yeah.
So that's not good. So I was like, yeah.
How did you? I mean, obviously it's blown up a bit since it hit Netflix, but you said you're doing conventions before that. I mean, like going back, convention number 1 that you went to, how was that? Was there like just a few people coming by? I mean, how did that go?
It was, actually it did pretty decent. It was at Mad Monster Party in Arizona last year, so that was a nice introduction to everything, because they had a lot of big names of that one, like Robert Englund was there, Kane Hodder was there, Tyler Mane, all those guys. So that was like, wow, I'm just being thrown in there with the greats. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah. Do you feel like that one to start with was more about building awareness for the film and the character rather than like, seeing the fans of the film and the character?
Definitely so. Because there would be a lot of people that would come by the table and they were like, "What is this? This looks really cool. What is this?" And we would tell them all about it.
Okay.
Now it's not really what is this, more like, "Oh my god, that was awesome! When's the next one coming?" And so,
yeah. No, that's amazing. I always was curious about that. Like, do you go to these things when you have the popularity, or do you just go right away just to gain awareness? And what's the key there?
Yeah, for this, I mean, they approached me over at Mad Monster Party, and even like with the one down in Texas last year, they had approached me for that one. That was my first one I had signed up for. I think they already saw before. They approached me before the movie even came out.
Oh.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
They're like, I think they could already just tell that this is going to be something big. So like, hey, they wanted to grab me now. So
yeah. And now that it's blown up a bit, it sounds like you're busy. Do you have a lot scheduled out from here on?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I got 3 in June, 2 in July. I don't know about August, but I got some more coming up in September, October. I'm supposed to even go to Germany in October.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Of course, Dan, you were just saying that you don't do that many, but was that one you brought up that Dan's going to be doing here shortly?
It is. I'm going to bring it up again right now.
Is this something you're doing shortly here, Dan?
You're talking about the Ohio.
Ohio coming up, which is where I'm from. It's about, I don't know, I think it's about 20 miles from where I grew up, so it'll be interesting.
Okay, yeah.
Which one is this?
Yeah, talk about it a little bit.
Have you done that one before?
No, never have. I've never done anything in Ohio. Yeah, I'm not sure what to expect.
You're gonna have some brethren there, right? So Bill,
Caroline, Bill Johnson, yeah, and Dugan, I believe, is going to be there.
Dugan's gonna be there.
Yeah, so it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Okay. No, let's try and catch you guys at some of these.
Oh, they're so much fun.
Yeah.
I love going to these things. It's just.
Do you do many of the panel discussions and things like that, Q&As?
Yeah, I love them. There's so much. I like the last one I did a panel with CJ Graham and a few other guys. So it was the monsters behind the makeup or something kind of like that kind of discussion.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, Joe, if you want to I can chat all day with David and Ron and Dan here and ask all the questions I'm curious about, but I don't know if anyone else out there, if I'm ignoring questions that I'm not seeing in the comments here. I do want to give a small shout out to our CCH Elite, Lance Wagner and Christopher Elswick. I know that Timothy was on there, Robin Pardy. I just got to give a shout out to some of my avid listeners, so I just had to plug that there.
Absolutely. And I've been getting to know some of them, and they're great people. So, David, something I'm curious about is Bad Anger Pictures. They're big into music and everything, and you kind of bummed me out. You turned me down the last time I asked you to come on, but there was a specific reason you turned me down, and that was because you were hanging out with Alice Cooper.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Can you delve into a little bit of that? I'm gonna bow out and bring a picture
God. That was such a Wayne's World moment. Oh my God. Well, my appearance manager, Bob Catalano, also represents Alice, and so they were doing a convention down in Philly, and he's like, "Hey, Damien, do you and David want to come out and meet Alice?" We're like, yeah. And I thought it was just going to be a typical meet and greet, like, okay, just like, hey, Alice, nice to meet you, okay, and go on your merry way. But if we get there and they bring us back to the green room, and Alice is just chilling out on the couch, and he's like, "Oh, you're the guys Bob's been talking about. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I really want to." And he's like, "Yeah, guys, sit down." And Anson Mount, who's on the new Star Trek series, was there as well. And so we're just sitting there on the couch for about an hour just shooting the shit with Alice. And it was amazing because we're just talking about movies, our love for movies and music and stuff like that. It was like a bunch of just guys just hanging out and geeking out together. It was like I kind of forgot I was talking to Alice Cooper.
Wow. That's an
this is-
experience.
Oh man, that was something else. That was just something else. He's an awesome dude.
Have you like sort of getting this horror icon status and going to these conventions? Aside from Alice Cooper, of course, have you been able to meet and talk with some of the horror legends that you grew up watching? I know you mentioned Sid Haig, but I mean others as well.
Oh yeah, especially I see Kane all the time. So like Kane and I'm like, hey Kane, hey David.
Yeah.
Felissa Rose has become like my horror mama basically. So I love hanging out with Felissa. Probably one of the best ones for me though was because he's always been a big, huge inspiration for me because he's a tall, skinny guy. And he's a great character actor. Was Doug Jones when I was down there in North Carolina earlier this year. He was at the same convention, and I figured it'd be one because we had chatted a little bit on like Twitter and stuff like that. So I tried to sneak over and just say hi to him real quick, and he just like jumped up, wrapped me up a big, huge hug, and just like we ended up talking for an hour or so later on at the VIP party, and it was just like it was because he was always it was like for me meeting Doug Jones is almost like me meeting Robin Williams. So it's like this, he was always a big source of inspiration. So I was like, oh, teach me, Obi-Wan.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have like a favorite? And I know that you guys hate getting asked this because you never want to pick one. But do you have like a favorite horror franchise growing up, or even movie? If there's one movie.
Oh God, I have my top 5.
Yeah.
I would say I don't have a definitive top horror film of all times, but like my favorite 5 are Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Omen, Exorcist, and Halloween.
Okay.
And that's not just like the movie, but just all those franchises too. I just absolutely love.
Sure. I sort of had that same question for you, Dan. Do you have and Ron? I mean, I'm curious about Ron as well. I mean, do you guys have favorite franchises or even certain films?
I grew up on the Universal monster movies. So give me a Frankenstein movie any day.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a good Frankenstein movie in a long time.
There was actually a great one called The Frankenstein Theory.
Ooh.
That was the best one. I don't know. When was that? 10 years ago, maybe?
Really?
I don't know. I lose track. Great movie. And yeah, you never see it anywhere. I've looked for it. And, again, I saw it, a buddy, when Netflix first became a thing, I was at his house and, scrolling through, looking at, hey, what the hell is that? Watch that fucking movie. It was so good.
I would love to see those again.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. What about you, Ron? You got a favorite franchise?
Yeah, and it's going to sound, like I'm biased, but it really is Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I've told this story before in interviews, but when I was a kid, there was this. I wish I would have given this to Joe now if I knew you were going to ask this question. But
I know I didn't warn you.
A cousin of mine was going to see a movie, and you know how you used to get the in the newspaper, you would look to see what movies were playing. And what are you going to go see? And she was going on a date to go to this movie, and she opened the newspaper and she pointed at the ad for Texas Chainsaw, and it was that iconic picture of Leatherface doing something with a saw down here, and Gunnar Hansen's down here doing this, and Terry McMahon is back here like doing one of these, kind of things. And I was just blown away at that imagery. But I was too young to go see it, but it stuck with me. For one thing, I couldn't believe she had the guts to go see it. Like I was scared to go see it, but at the same time, I was so intrigued by it. And that image just stuck with me for a really, really long time. So when I finally got to see it, I was blown away by it. But Halloween franchise as well. I mean, that was another one of those that I was a little bit too young to see when it came out, but I was fascinated by the imagery around it. And last night I posted it was the 40th or 39th or 40th, I think 40th anniversary of Alien.
Yeah, that's right.
And again, that poster of the moon-looking egg and the green whatever. I would just stare at these things forever. And a friend of mine had the alien action figure, and I would just be. It was this tall and whatever, and it seemed this tall when I was a kid. It's probably this tall, but I just loved all that stuff. So it took me a while before I could really start to see horror movies. But when I was a teenager, there was a friend of mine down the street, and his brother worked at a video store. And so kind of like David was saying, that they would come home with these stacks. We had Betamax, though. We didn't have VHS, which was supposed to be higher quality, right? At the time or whatever. So he would bring home this massive stack of videotapes of horror movies, and we would just sit there and go one after the other. So a lot of the really great ones I never got to see on the big screen as a kid. I was looking at a 25-inch, which at the time was huge, TV, watching some of these movies. But yeah, those would be my key ones. But starting with Texas Chainsaw. So
wow,
Makes me kind of sad that I was not old enough to actually experience those movies in the theater with an audience. I mean, that must have been so much fun.
Yeah.
Right. And then you did get to see Texas Chainsaw, but it was after it was the second or third release or something like that. And you went with some of your friends.
Yeah, it was the re-release.
Yeah.
Back in 1981.
Yeah.
We saw it in the drive-in in Las Vegas.
That's one of the things I wonder about Dan is he got to experience that movie and loved it. And when he had his first VHS player, he had a Mondo movie and the Texas Chainsaw or whatever it was. Eraserhead and Texas Chainsaw. And then to make full circle. And just like David with his, being afraid of the Joker action figure, having no idea. It must be real in some ways.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And I just have to slip in there. Anyone who listens to my show knows I'm an Evil Dead man. So,
that's a great one too. It's just
I do have a. Yeah, no, I'm just a diehard fan. But
all right, I'm going to have to interrupt for one moment if I may, because this is kind of really cool. This is aimed at David, but we got Billy Pond out there, and David, do you know who that is?
Of course I do. Hey, Billy.
So for those of you who don't know who he is, he's the writer and director of Circus of the Dead, and there's a certain clown aspect to that movie.
Just a little bit.
Papa Corn. So
awesome character. I love Papa Corn.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool that he's chiming in. He's not in the best condition right now, but he was kind enough to come on the show and say hi, that he is out there. So
love you, Billy.
That was really cool.
That's
so
awesome.
Popcorn and Art, you guys spoke a few times online, had some friendly banter and everything. The fans had some friendly banter.
We like to rag on each other on there a lot. It's kind of fun. We have this whole rivalry going between Popcorn and Art. It's fun.
Wow.
It's out of mutual respect.
Oh, it is, and it's really fun to watch. If you guys ever get a chance to watch it going on live, it's just like, really?
If you haven't seen Circus of the Dead, do see it. It's so great, so fucked up, but it's so great.
Yeah. I do have a question that I will apply to Dan and also David, but mainly I'm going to aim it at Dan, because Dan, in Texas Chainsaw 3D, I don't want to be a chauvinistic pig, but I think Alexandra Daddario is one of the most gorgeous women ever involved in a Texas Chainsaw movie. And not only her, but the others in the cast. And it's not so much for David, because you, Dan, are literally tossing them around like nothing and cutting them in half. And David gets physical with them for sure. But Dan, how is it to take these fragile beings? Is it nerve wracking at first, or are you I feel like I'm going to break this 2-inch arm right here?
No, it's so fake. Like I said before, but the other side of it, I explain it to particularly young men who come up and ask what it's like to do such things. And I always just tell them, if anybody ever offers to put you in a skin mask and give you a leather apron and cover you with blood, and then they hand you a chainsaw and they say, why don't you go chase that girl like you want to kill her? you should do it. Because there's never been a better job invented. And everybody in that movie was a real pro. Alexandria did inadvertently actually did one of her own stunts. She wasn't supposed to wipe out, but she did. Got up and kept running,
And they kept it in the movie.
and heck yeah. Actually, there's the scene where Leatherface is trying to get at him when they're in the overturned van. Most of that was shot on a soundstage, and they said, I did a couple of the, busting of the window shots with the chainsaw, which was all real. It's all practical stuff. And then, it was about 6 hours into the day. And they said, you know what? The rest of the shots, all we see are your feet. You can go home if you want.
Yeah.
And I was so impressed with the amount of effort that those girls put into their performance in that moment. They kept up this level of terror that was just amazing to me as an actor. I couldn't believe how hard they were working. And I said, hell no. If I can be here and be in the mask and help them do their job, I want to be here. I don't care if the camera can see me; they can see me.
Sure.
And it was just awesome. And they were, both Tanya and Alexandra were just pros, man. They worked. It was good.
How was it having, sort of an alum? You had Bill Moseley on the set there too, and we interviewed him on our show, and you could tell that he's super passionate about Chop Top, in Texas too. And so for him to be involved and sort of on set there, was that pretty cool working with him?
Yeah, I was shooting on second unit while they were shooting the burning down of the house, but I went to the set. We were shooting 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
On 2 units. And so, I guess I was supposed to be sleeping, but I didn't want to do that. And so I went over and met Bill for the first time. And he was just finishing up his stuff. And we just remember we were all kind of saying goodbye. And, I was in one of the vans with some of the cast, and Bill, he's just such a nice guy. He comes over and he wanted to say goodbye to everybody because he was leaving. And the last thing he said to us was, "Lick my plate, you dog, Dick."
Yeah. Now you also, Gunnar was a little bit involved too, right?
Yeah. That was where I finally met Gunnar Hansen.
Yeah, was that sort of like, were you sort of giving him looks like, hey, am I doing this right?
Yeah, we were I don't know, we were about halfway into the shoot at that point, so I had done a lot of the work. But I make no apologies for having ripped Gunnar Hansen off, every chance I got.
Yeah.
In what I did with that character, which
Made it believable too.
I hope so. But he was just such a nice guy. He was so kind to me. I met him. It was just an otherworldly experience.
And they filmed it all.
I walk into the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house, that had the front door that Leatherface had, cut up with the chainsaw, and the wallpaper and the bone furniture and the chicken feathers. The chicken feathers were unreal. And we sat in the dining room where they had dinner that night in the movie, and talked about just everything. It was just a weird, it was impossible to absorb. I'm glad there was a video camera there. They captured a lot of it on video for the EPK, and it was so cool. And that was where I learned Gunnar Hansen's favorite cigar was a Hoya de Nicaragua.
Okay.
And so, being the astute actor that I was, I always made sure I had a pocket full of Hoya de Nicaraguas every time. I even thought we may cross paths.
Yeah.
And we sit down and have a cigar.
Yeah.
He was so kind to me. What a great man he was. I can't say enough good about Gunnar Hansen.
All right, so I kind of have a cookie cutter question for all three guys, if I may.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off with David, go to Ron, and then go to Dan. David, in person, starstruck, who hit you the most?
Whew, that's a good one. I think probably Christopher Lloyd.
Ah,
I met him earlier this year. That was an unexpected surprise down in Orlando. Damien was doing my makeup, and my manager Bob comes in the room and says, "Hey, David, got someone here that wants to meet you." And like Chris comes around the corner, and he's like, "Oh wow!" I'm like, "Oh wow!" It was so cool because I'm like, I grew up watching Christopher Lloyd. I mean, this is like Doc Brown and Judge Doom and all Reverend Jim. I'm like, oh my God, it's Christopher Lloyd. I was like, and he's he's very quiet, very reserved, very sweet man.
so he's a fan. He's a fan of Art the Clown, huh?
There you go, right?
Yeah, I'll take it. It was very surreal because we had lunch that next day, and he's like sitting next to me in a chair reading a newspaper, and then like someone bumps into me, and I hear this female voice. Oh, I'm so sorry. And I look up, and it's Christina Ricci, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm sitting next to Christopher Lloyd and Christina Ricci having lunch right now. This is like, who am I right now? This is live. What? No.
Wow.
Nice. All right, I'm going to go over to Ron. Ron, how about you?
That's a really tough one. I've got my ultimate answer, but it's a tough one. Because
You don't have to say me.
No. I've been working with this fine guy for the last over 5 years, and through Dan, I've got myself into a lot of really cool situations. I've got to meet just a ton of people. I mean, honestly, too, with David, I can remember we shared a car. I don't know if you remember it, David, but we from the convention from the hotel to the convention, we'd had breakfast or something, and then we shared a car.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, fuck, that's Art the Clown in the back seat. which is really cool, But there's been so many of those moments that I can't even count. Dan and I had actually worked together for about 2 years before we met in person. And he'll accuse me of being fanboyed up a little bit, and probably I was. But it was a good time. But of all the people that I've met, there was this random, it was last year, and my friend Erica Irvin from American Horror Story, she was coming to Boston. They were going to premiere her movie, Chimera Strain. Mm-hmm. And she invited me to come out with dinner, and I brought a couple of friends. And she said, Kathleen Quinlan might show up. And I'm like, okay, all right. and I didn't think it would really happen, but sure enough, we got to this restaurant and I looked over across the way and there they sat. And I was just blown away that it was Kathleen Quinlan. After about 45 minutes of trying to be really cool, I told her, I said, I've probably seen Apollo 13 more than any human on this earth. And I probably have. I love that movie. And she's just done so well. She's done a couple of horror movies too. She was, great in a lot of movies. And she's in her 60s now, but she was just, oh my God, she was so nice. And so I positioned myself between Erica and her. And we just had a really good conversation throughout the evening. And finally I revealed, I was a big fan. But she came up, when she first introduced me, she said, hi, I'm Kathleen Quinlan. And I'm thinking to myself, God damn, I know who you are, But, I'm like, oh, nice to meet you. And, because you don't emote. Like, you have an inner fanboy when you meet people at times. You find yourself in cool positions, but you don't show it that much. But it was hard to keep it at bay with her. I'm such a big fan. But and we just sat and had dinner and drinks and for a couple hours and shot the shit. And that's one of the great things about this is, you see the convention and people ask questions and it's usually the same question over and over and that sort of thing. But when you're off with, with these guys individually and you're just having a conversation, you get much deeper into who they are. And it's just much more interesting, I think. It's really cool. Your turn.
What was the question?
Yeah, I'm kind of afraid to ask Dan.
I probably know his answer. Of all the people you've met, did you maybe fanboy out a little bit? And
one of the most memorable experiences I had just at doing horror cons was meeting Dee Snider.
Oh,
he was the coolest guy, and completely, in my generation, Dee Snider was just this caricature. And to actually meet the man was just so cool. He was so nice.
Were you guys going to do something together at one point?
Yeah, well, he
There's a reason why I'm asking this question. Is there a reason? Were you guys going to do something?
Yeah. He was going to put together a whole kind of production thing for horror cons, but it never went.
So I don't know if you know this. I'm going to butt in on your answer right now.
Go ahead.
So,
I got more answers.
I know you do, so I'm going to interrupt. When Terry McMinn, Pam from the original Texas Chainsaw, introduced me to Dan, she had said that it was you, and I didn't know your name at the time, who you were, and she mentioned Dee Snider, and a couple other people were working on something, and I haven't thought about it until this moment, actually. And then you and I started talking, and the rest is history. But so you guys were going to do something.
Yes.
Okay,
but yeah, I never heard more about it. Anyway, actually, the most profound, celebrity meeting moment I think I've had. I was at a book signing in a little bookstore in Brentwood, California, and it was a friend of mine, a friend of hers, had written a book and was doing this book signing, and we showed up just to be supportive. And Julie Newmar walked in, and she opens. The place was packed, and I'm 6'6", so I stand above everybody. Julie Newmar opens the door and stands there a minute, as only Julie Newmar can, and she scans the room, and our eyes connected. And she walked straight towards me. And she says, I hate short people. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, she must have been, she was over 70 at the time. But we spent probably, I don't know, it seemed like moments, but it was probably 45 minutes just talking about, life and I never let on I knew who she was. And she was cool about that, you know. She just wanted to hang out at this bookstore and, you know, have some wine and cheese.
You got the Joker geeking out over here over Catwoman right now.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Put a smile on my face.
No, that's great. That's great. Yeah.
There are a lot of really good stories. There just really are.
Who did you think I was going to say?
Who, me?
You. I mean, besides, you know.
Are you?
Kathy
Well,
Quinn.
on this fine Blu-ray that we're going to give away.
Oh, yes.
You are on film, fanboying out with Gunner.
Oh, yeah.
You were just like, it was. If you haven't seen, I don't know if it's on the digital version that you can get online, but on the Blu-ray, there's a whole behind the scenes. What?
I've never watched.
You haven't? You haven't?
What?
After we get off of this thing, we're watching this. but Dan is like truly just like in awe. That's who I thought you were going to say, because you were truly.
Well, he
loved,
became such a good personal friend.
You love the man.
I kind of got past that.
Well, of course.
I mean, we penetrated that thing that separates you from celebrities.
I know what you're talking about for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm kind of.
That's why I didn't say you.
I know.
It'd be too fucking.
Or Dave.
Yeah, wait a minute, Dan. I'm totally geeking out right now that Dan and Captain Howdy from Strangeland were working or potentially working on something together.
Yeah. Yeah, it was going to be a, what did we call it? He had a name for it and everything. It was a whole, you know, he was going to, it was like a talk show almost for horror killers. Killer's Corner, something like that. I forget what the hell. Anyway, you know, he could have told me.
Killer's Coroner.
There you go.
Yeah, no, it was one of those panel discussions, and it was, you know, Dee Snider there interviewing me. Who the hell else was there? Gunner was there. Rick Mir, no. Who the hell was that? Anyway, my memory.
All right. So, just out of curiosity, was Dee taller than you in heels or without heels?
Without heels. He was just a dude, man. Such a nice guy. I could hang out with him. He gave me his book. I haven't read it yet.
That's pretty awesome. So I want to sort of circle back a little bit, David, to with Terrifier 2. Is that something where you guys, I mean, you're going to start working on it. Do you already have a place to show it? Do you think it will like automatically at least go onto Netflix or something?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. I mean, I would really love it to be shown in theaters this time, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But
were you able to with Terrifier? Were you guys able to see it like sitting in a theater? Like, did you do festivals and things like that?
We did some festivals. We also did some like one-off showings in certain cities and stuff like that, like those Alamo Draft House type of things.
Sure.
So yeah, that to me was fun. I got to see about 4 or 5 times the audiences, which I love doing because. Yeah, I love seeing everybody's reactions. Like the first time I saw it was here in New York at Lincoln Center. We did a showing there, so it was a packed house. So it's great to see how people react to things. I remember like we went to one showing in New Jersey at one of the colleges there. Catherine Corcoran, who played Dawn, the blonde in the film. We're sitting next to each other, and like these girls get up during her the hacksaw scene and just walk out. They couldn't handle it anymore, and we like high five each other, like yes. We got it.
Were you doing at some of these showings? Were you doing like I've been to a couple of Alamo where they'll do like panels and things where you'll do an intro to the movie and everything. Maybe a Q&A afterwards.
Yeah, we did like a few times. We did Q&As afterwards, which is
Okay.
a lot of fun. Actually, when I was down there in Texas at the convention, we did a showing down there, and I kind of MST3K'd it a bit.
Oh, nice.
I'm just sitting there not shouting out facts, or I'm making little jokes or something.
Did they like give you a microphone for that?
No, I just sat there and just shouted stuff out. I think at first people didn't know who was shouting stuff out. They're like, "Who is this asshole?"
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it's him.
No, that's great. Yeah, that's aside from the showings though, did you guys do like a festival run then? Too?
We went to a few festivals, yes.
Okay. I was just curious about that. Yeah, has that, I mean, did that help you? I mean, the movie's done, it's being shown, you're getting these audience reactions. Has that in any way like helped you to think of things to add in next time or anything like that while you're sitting there watching?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think, I think days after we finished filming, I was already brainstorming ideas. It's funny. I'll have stuff that happens in my everyday life where someone will piss me off or something like that. I'm like, how would art kill them? And I came up with a fun kill scene. It's not going to be in this movie, but it might be in another movie down the line. Who knows? But it's like, I'll just think of these things. Like, God, what if I just like this guy out there revving his car? Because this happens a lot in my neighborhood in Queens. I think everybody's having a who has a smaller dick contest or something like that.
Of course.
It's like, I can imagine Art just going up to one of those guys, knocking him in the head, dragging him out of the car, and just like revving the tire, like spinning the tires on his face or something like that. Like, this is the thing I start thinking. I used to not think like this. Now I think of this kind of stuff. I'm like, what would people kill?
You can get help with that.
Yeah, I know. Oh, do I want to?
Have you had trouble? Like, you're so busy, conventions, appearances, things like that. Have you had trouble trying to like find the balance where you're like, hey, we got to sort of stop doing that so we can finish Terrifier 2 or even start working on it?
Yeah, I think we might hopefully start filming this October or something like that. So that'll be a little bit of a lull in the con season. That and if I have to drop out of the con or two, so be it. I mean, this is what comes first. So
yeah. Have you been doing anything else film wise to like just stay busy, or are the cons definitely keeping you busy enough?
Cons have kept me busy. I got a film I might be doing coming up, so wait and see where that's going to go right now. Might be
Nice.
it might be with Tony Todd as well. So I'm like,
Oh, cool.
Yeah, really. That's
hear
really
that.
cool.
This is knock on wood type of thing. So we're trying to hash things out right
All
now.
right, so we're not going to say Candyman.
Oh, man, I wish it was Candyman. Dude, if this was Candyman, I would be like, those are fun films too. God.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I do have to interrupt. I do apologize. We're going to have to wind this down. I mean, this has been so much fun, though. I mean, awesome. We have Art the Clown. We have Leatherface. We have Ron. We have Danny. We have... Yeah, nobody knows.
You.
Anyway. And Ron's knocking stuff over now.
Man, I'm trying to grab. We need to give these things away.
Yep.
I was trying to grab this guy, and I nearly knocked over the Leatherface lamp. Has anybody seen this? This is a Leatherface lamp back here.
Oh, wow.
It's tough to see. There you go.
Okay, that's a Leatherface lamp.
Nice.
I like it. The person who made it.
Wow.
It's a friend of my wife, and I can't remember who it is.
The fans, they are creative people out there. I'm like, some of the things that they've made it just blows my mind.
Including your action figures.
Yeah.
And
It's like shades and shells. It's full of
Gun shells.
It's full of bullet casings.
Oh, wow.
wow.
It's a Jameson. You probably can't see it. Sorry, it's probably
You can somewhat see it. Yeah, the Jameson bottle.
Jameson bottle filled with gun shells, whatever you call them.
With a custom Leatherface shade.
Yeah,
That's
did
really
they do that for you on purpose, or you
Yeah.
just found it?
No, yeah, it's a friend of my wife's. Makes it.
Cool.
Did you have the shade tested for DNA?
It's
Right.
real skin, guys. It's real skin.
We found him finally.
So, Joe, if I do real quick. So,
Yep.
I promised to give these things away. We're trying to get our membership, or whatever you call it. We've really been pushing Bad Anger Pictures and getting a lot of likes. We've driven like 500 or 600 likes in the last week. As Joe, you already know this. But thanks everybody for sharing, liking, commenting, PMing. We can't always reply to all the ones we get, and that's the best problem to have that anybody could ever ask for, is to not be able to reply to everything. But we do see everything, and so I did a contest a couple of weeks ago where I said if you share, I think it was for this show tonight, if you share, that's all you have to do is share this post, and we'll enter you in a drawing to win a couple of DVDs. So I have The Drown Man that Dan was in. What year was that?
I don't know.
Well, it's signed. It's signed. It was after Texas Chainsaw.
Yes.
All right, thanks. Anyway, brilliant.
I think it was
movie.
2015, if I had to guess.
Yeah, brilliant movie. It's a short film. And I drew a name out, and the winner for that is Cheryl Lynn Mitchell. And she may not be on right now, but I will contact her and let her know she won this, and I'll ship that out. Woo-hoo. And the winner of the Texas Chainsaw 3D Blu-ray, and it is actually a 3D version, but it does have the 2D version on it as well. And it's signed on the outside cover, and the Blu-ray itself is signed. And the winner of that is Gregory Marks. So thank you. Thank you, guys.
Sorry. What was that name? You mispronounced my name.
Gregory Marks. So thanks everybody for all the support, and we're going to keep doing these shows every 5 or 6 weeks as we can, and it's been great. Thanks a lot. And David, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
You're very welcome.
You stayed longer than we had you on schedule for, so thanks for not running out the door.
Thank you guys.
And maybe we'll see you in a couple of weeks in Massachusetts. You'll be in my backyard. So.
That'll be great. I look forward to it. Yeah.
Before David runs, David, where can the fans find you on social media, please?
Yes, you can find me on some variation of David Howard Thornton on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I think on Twitter I'm actually David H. Thornton. So also YouTube, you can find me on there. I have a few little videos I did back in the day. So yeah, you can find me if you want.
All right, and what cons do you have coming up?
Oh boy, this next week I'm going to be down in Gettysburg at Pop Rock and Horror. I'm going to be up at Scaricon, Framingham, Massachusetts, and then the following weekend I'm going to be out in Sacramento at, oh my God, don't kill me. All these names get confused in my head. I'm at a convention out in Sacramento as well, so yeah. If I was more awake, then I could tell you. But it's like,
probably the only horror convention in Sacramento at that time.
I need to have just my list in front of me when I do these things, so I can just actually not ruin the names and be like, oh God, that's what sucks. I'm turning 40 this year, and I can already tell my brain's going. I'm like, oh God.
Wait a minute. Excuse me, whippersnapper. You're talking to people over 40.
In my day, we didn't have these cell phones. We had 2 cats on a string, and we liked it. Damn it.
That's great.
Right on. David, we greatly appreciate you being on the show. It was awesome having you. And we're going to go over to, actually, I'm like so flabbergasted right now with all the answers and everything. And I'm looking at all the questions, but we got to come to an end. We appreciate you being on and hope to have you on again soon sometime.
Definitely. I'd be happy to.
Got to do Terrifier 2.
Yes.
We'll catch you next time.
Thanks, David.
Have a good night.
All right, then, Danny, we're going to you, man. What do you got going on?
Hey, just to close it out, if you guys aren't already listening, check out the Cult Classic Horror Show podcast. You can get it anywhere you can get podcasts. We do an episode a week where we review and talk about a cult classic horror. We just did the Mutilator last week. We're on to the Pumpkinhead series this coming week. We also interview directors, actors, producers. I just interviewed the director for The Perfection, which just hit Netflix this last weekend. As I mentioned, we've done Mosley before. We've interviewed. The list goes on. So you can check out the back catalog of episodes. And then if you guys want, definitely follow our new film that is done but not released yet. It's on all social media at She Walks the Woods. So check that out. Give us a follow. We are going to be starting a little Kickstarter just to raise some marketing funds because we may have to be self-distributing. So that'll start in a few weeks. We're doing some giveaways leading up to it. Right now we're giving away a 9 foot tall by 4 foot wide Evil Dead wall canvas right now. So if you're interested in that, just look on the Cult Classic Horror page. There's a link where you can enter to win that in a couple weeks here. But I think that's all I got. I know that was a lot.
Fair enough. And everybody go check out Cult Classic Horror Show. And we're planning on having you again.
Yeah, it was a great time, man. I really appreciate.
Thank you so much, man. You're a great addition. Thank you.
No, I really appreciate you guys having me, and I'd love to come back anytime.
All right. We'll catch you next time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Gentlemen.
So, Joe.
How'd we do on time, Joe?
We're live, and you guys are going to tell us what you got going on.
Well, first of all, Joe, I'd like to thank you. Thank you so much for helping us with this production. I mean, this is beyond. I think it was probably 3 or 4 months ago. I was in my apartment in Massachusetts. Dan was in this room, and we were doing like a really awkward FaceTime where we couldn't get connected. And you saw that show, and you said, "Guys, if you need any help, in other words, guys, you need some fucking help." So you've been a great addition. Thank you for helping us put all this together, the connections you have, and you brought David into all this. Thank you. Can't thank you enough, man. You're awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure. Absolutely. So we're going to briefly discuss Dan's convention. I'm going to bring the picture up again. It's Dark X Fest.
So
yeah, it's just south of Cleveland, in my old stomping grounds. I don't know. I hope I see a lot of old friends there. We'll make it a good time.
And I forgot to mention earlier, RA is going to be there too.
Oh, all right.
So you got RA, Dan, John Dugan, and Bill Johnson, our brother Bill, and Caroline. I think that's all I see from Texas Chainsaw. And you got some other great names on there too. So it's going to be a great show.
It should be a good show.
All right. So gentlemen, social media, where can the fans find you guys?
Well, if you're watching this, you know where to find us on Facebook and also on Instagram, Bad Anger Pictures. I try to vary up a little bit different what we put on Instagram. It's not always different, but try to give it a little bit different flavor for where they can find us there. We're not as active on Twitter, and I know, Joe, you keep kicking our butt and telling us we need to be, so we'll get there eventually. We do have a Twitter account. Do you know what it is?
No.
Yeah, it's Bad Anger something. It's probably Bad Anger Pics, P-I-X, if I had to guess, but I'm just totally guessing.
That sounds like us.
Yeah, it sounds like us. So.
All right.
Our next show is probably 5 or 6 weeks from now. Joe, we'll get started on that tomorrow.
Okay. I look forward to it.
Now, really what we want to do too is, depending on when Volition finishes up, we got to go through sound. Music is being worked on.
Yes.
Ask you about that. So music and sound. Once we get that wrapped up and it's colored everything, then like Dan said earlier, in this room, we're going to hope to have a premiere here. And depending on if that's in 5 or 6 weeks or 12 weeks out, we'll figure out what the next show is going to be. But at some point in the near future, we'll have a show fairly dedicated to Volition. The actors in Volition, people that produced it, will invite folks up from PA if they want to come up and be a part of the show, and we'll figure it out.
I'm just looking at all the comments, and next time we really have to allow more time to delve into your fans. And I mean, we kind of missed a lot, but it was still entertaining regardless.
I see it's Christine's 31st anniversary, and we provided the entertainment. If we provided the entertainment on your anniversary, you're doing something wrong.
Although we're doing our job.
We're doing our job.
And we got to give a special shout out to Lance Wagner, who is saying goodnight from Texas. Lance, thank you for all the support.
Lance,
you're awesome.
This is incredible.
Lance is awesome.
He supports everything we do. Thank you so much, Lance. You're the bro.
Hand me the ashtray.
Yes, baby.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to end the broadcast. Hold on one moment. I kind of want to get a cheers, gentlemen. It was a great show. I appreciate all you guys do. And we will catch everybody next time. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.